All right, go to the circle. All right, guys, we're going to get started here. Everybody that's watching this show, head on over to my Facebook page and look at the second post down. My Facebook page is facebook.com/Jerry Miller Now. If you just search Jerry Miller on Facebook, you'll find me. I want you to look at the post that I did right before this show started on 804 Hinton Avenue. Look at the photos, look at the specs. We'll talk about this on the show today. If you're watching on LinkedIn, if you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, if you're listening, head to my personal Facebook page. Just type in Jerry Miller, I'll show up. And look at the second post down, the post that I did right before this show started. The first line in the post is 804 Hinton Avenue. We're going to talk about this listing, this rental listing today. I want you to see the photos and look at the specs so you have some insight on what we're talking about. And while you're at it, follow me on Facebook. Hit the follow button for me on Facebook while you're at it. Other topics, go ahead and do that now. I'll wait a couple seconds before we start the show. Go to my personal Facebook page. Follow me on Facebook. And then look at the post that I did with the cottage, 804 Hinton Avenue, $1,100 a month, $1,100 a month. That is 258 square feet, off-site laundry, 1-year lease of $13,200. Now, it's a phenomenal location. Scott Aaronworth in Virginia Beach, hello. It is a phenomenal location. I mean, you're able to walk everywhere. I mean, that is downtown Belmont. I mean, you basically can walk to the bars and restaurants, stumble home from the bars and restaurants in Belmont. And then walking to the downtown mall is easy peasy, treasy, keasy. We'll talk about this today on the program. We'll talk about Skipping Rock's closing yesterday, which I found, demoralizing. Those guys, when they launched their business, when they launched their Charlottesville location, came on the show, brought us beers, met the owners, met the head brewer, met the bar manager, met the retail sales guy. Bill McChesney, hello, the mayor of McIntyre. Welcome to the program. Is Jay Wyant, the gentleman farmer, the mayor of Troy, watching today? Jay Wyant, are you watching? We love you, Jay Wyant, the gentleman farmer, the mayor of Troy. Scott Aaronworth is the king of Virginia Beach. Give the show a like and a share. We'll talk about Lennar, one of the largest home builders in the United States, now pivoting its plans. This was a story passed to us by the mayor of Gordonsville. Jamie Turner, are you watching today? Jamie Turner sent us a link, DM'd us a link, and it's legitimately turning into a topic on today's program. We appreciate you, Jamie Turner. Give the show a like and a share anywhere you're watching. We're going to get rocking and rolling in a matter of moments. Judah, let us know when you have Janice Boyce Trevelyan, hello. JBT, we love when you watch the show. Vanessa Parkhill, the Queen of Earlysville, hello. Let us know when you have that circle around the location so we can show the fine folks that watch this program where 804 Hinton Avenue is located. That'd mean a lot to me. Travis Hackworth, I'm going to read what you sent me today. I thought what you sent me today was excellent. Travis Hackworth is watching in Danville. He's the king of Danville. You feeling pretty good over there, J-Dubs?
Yeah, not too bad.
All right. Why don't we rock and roll? I'm going to talk some Skipping Rock, and then we'll weave you in on the second block with Hinton Avenue. That'll give you some time to get that circle around where Hinton Avenue is located. So you can have that two-shot ready to go. We're adapting on the fly for you guys here. I think, think about this. There's only one network and only one brand in the Commonwealth that is doing live streaming like this at a set time every day with localized content and interacting with folks as if it was Seinfeld or Friends or Sports Center or Law and Order or the news. I can rock and roll when you're ready, Judah.
All right. Quiet on the set.
Guys, good Tuesday afternoon. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Live CVille show. Thank you kindly for joining us. A pleasure to connect with you guys through the I Live CVille network, a network that's presented today by the Clifton in Keswick. Think about the Clifton in Keswick for holiday date night, happy hour, and just fantastic dinners. I mean, the team at the Clifton in Keswick is experienced, it's talented, it's well-versed in its menu. The chef is dynamite. Think about the Clifton for weddings, for events, for corporate retreats. I mean, it's a jewel. It's just a jewel and a special place 12 minutes away from the downtown mall in Charlottesville. It's the Clifton in Keswick. A lot we're going to cover on today's show. We're going to talk another brewery local closing. And this one, I mean, Skipping Rock made very good beer. And the owner of Skippin' Rock, the brewmaster of Skippin' Rock, the taproom manager of Skippin' Rock, if you know, I'm putting you on the fly on a lot of stuff, Judah, here, but if you get a photo of when Skipping Rock came on the show, and you can put it on screen, I mean, the number one priority would be, first would be the circle of around Hinton Avenue, but I would love to show the people behind Skipping Rock. These are people, like folks that have come on this show multiple times. People that I've met, like neighbors of folks in this community. Folks that took an opportunity to launch and start a business and invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million plus, into this brand. We'll talk about Skipping Rock closing its doors today. We'll talk about the announcement they made yesterday. We'll give you some analysis of why they closed on today's program. And I'm going to start asking this question: what's the impact of Skippin' Rock and the rumored closing of Reason Beer and the fact that Champion Brewing Company, according to ABC Labeling, is now outsourcing a lot of its production to a brewery in North Carolina? I mean, in the last 2.5, 3 weeks, we've had some major local beer announcements. We'll talk about all this today on the show. I also want to talk about 804 Hinton Avenue. If you're watching this on any of the social channels, and we're live on every single one of them, I want you to go to my personal Facebook page, type in Jerry Miller into Facebook, search for me, follow me on Facebook, and then look at the second post that I did, the post right after this live stream, the second post down. It's on 804 Hinton Avenue. We'll talk about a cottage that's renting for $1,100 a month, that's 258 square feet, that, you know, I appreciate the ingenuity that went into this cottage, the studio apartment, but this is a converted shed. I mean, is that, we'll weave Judah in, maybe we'll use the voice of God, because I know you're checking for some things here, but you would say this is a converted shed. Would you not?
Yeah, I mean, when I found it, there were people joking around that this is where they used to keep the lawnmower, and that mowing the lawn is part of the rent.
We'll talk about this, but we're going to take a different perspective on this. Judah's going to take one perspective, I'll take another, and we'll banter back and forth. I think you may be curious to see the perspective I take on this. Give me a thumbs up when you have the circle for a Hinton Avenue ready to go, and then the photos of the Skipping Rock guys ready to go. That would be huge, because I love to humanize and personalize and localize the Skipping Rock team.
I've got them ready to go.
Okay, I'll call for that here in a matter of moments. Because some folks, Judah, and I don't even understand this, when we did the post about Skipping Rock yesterday, we're knocking them. We're like talking ill of their location and their brand and their marketing and their beer. And I just don't understand the concept of like kicking business owners when they're down.
You said somebody was saying bad stuff about them?
Multiple folks were saying it in the comment section.
Yeah,
and it's a shame, right?
Yeah.
And what I'd like to do is like show their photos of, these are actually people in our community.
Yeah.
We'll also talk on today's show about Katrina Coulson running for delegate. We predicted this before her announcement. We mentioned this all last week that Katrina Coulson of the Albemarle County School Board was going to run for delegate. Yesterday, the news broke that Katrina Coulson was running for delegate. We're passing along information to you on a daily basis on this network that is happening before it's happening. The Coulson News is a perfect example of this. She's catching some ammunition on the socials, in particular from socialist Twitter, about this. We'll talk about some of that ammunition today on the show, and we'll highlight one of the United States' largest home builders, Lennar. Lennar is trying to sell 5,000 of its homes to big landlords. 5,000 homes, 5,000 units of production that it otherwise planned for single-family detached home sales. Lennar is pivoting its model and saying, instead of selling these 5,000 units to individual families or people, we're going to try to unload them quickly to landlords. That story was passed to me by Jamie Turner, the mayor of Gordonsville. And if Jamie Turner, you are watching, give me a thumbs up or hammer the like button or let us know. Jamie Turner is an astute guy, and much like John Blair or Neil Williamson or Travis Hackworth, Scott Aaronworth, Kevin Yancey, Vanessa Parkhill, Janice Boyce Trevelyan, Kevin Higgins, Philip Dow, and if I didn't mention your name, it's not because I don't love all you viewers and listeners, but you guys, we crowdsource the content on this show. I think that's one of the things that really makes it interactive. You guys send us content that you think may apply to what we do after listening and watching the show, and a large majority of the time, it becomes part of our newscasts. Part of what we cover. And this is a good example of what Jamie Turner did today. Jamie is watching. JT, welcome to the program, the mayor of Gordonsville, always repping the pep and Culpeper. All right, I want to talk Skipping Rock first. So yesterday afternoon after the show, my beautiful wife, most important person in my life by far, sends me an announcement. And the announcement was from Skipping Rock. And unfortunately, it was a closing announcement. It was going out of business announcement. And I'll read a couple of paragraphs from the announcement from Skipping Rock Beer Company. Here, and this really, look, I'm a small business owner. I am the son of small business owners. My parents were small business owners. My brother and I grew up in the copier room of my parents' CPA office, like legitimately, when there was a necessity to have rooms, office rooms specifically for copying tax returns and paperwork because the copiers were that large. My brother and I, literally, summer, Christmas break, Easter, when we were sick, we were kept hidden in a CPA office in the copier room by my mom and dad and the few team members that were a part of their small business. So anytime a small business closes, it demoralizes me. Even if the owner of the small business has said not nice things about me on social media, like one of the breweries locally, I still feel saddened that his brewery is in hardship. And that's Hunter and Champion that I'm talking about. The Skipping Rock guys, on the other hand, are as first-class people as you're going to find. And Skipping Rock made damn good beer. Their New England cloudy beer, their New England IPA was phenomenal. Do you have the photo of the Skipping Rock guys that you could put on screen, J-Dubs? Yeah. Let us know when that's on there. He's going to put photos of Jason, the owner, his brewmaster on there. Hey, they're on screen. Look at the screen. These are people. I'll read a few paragraphs from the closing announcement. To our loyal customers and fan base, we hope this finds you and your families well during the holiday season. First and foremost, Skipping Rock Beer Company wants to thank you for being a part of a shared vision for our brand, the trust and encouragement for our staff, and your support during our journey together. Our team has worked tirelessly for the last 4 years to create positive, memorable experiences for you. The economic challenges were plenty for us since we opened, but through our collective grit and determination to build a brand, we found many successes along the way. Thank you for supporting our events. Thank you for buying our award-winning beer, both in the tap room and at local bars, restaurants, and grocery stores. Thank you for being a part of our little family. The pride and gratitude are enduring and meaningful for our entire team. I mean, that was heartfelt, dude. It's heart, I mean, I'm getting a little more. However, we have come, the announcement continues, Judah. However, we have come to the point in the journey where we have exhausted all the financial resources to maintain a healthy and viable business. We survived many rounds of economic hardship, and while the brand is popular and has been supported by you and our distribution partners, we can no longer avoid the facts of being undercapitalized. It is with great sorrow and disappointment to inform you that Skipping Rock will have to stop beer production and close the taproom doors. We will stay open for the near future as we sell through our current inventory. Our plan is to put the property and assets for sale with a broker. If you are interested in purchasing the property, please let us know. Additionally, please come visit us and support us as often as you can to help us sell through our products. They even ask if you're an angel investor and if you'd like to keep the brewery alive, please do. Are you back on a one shot?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm saddened by this. I showed you a photo of the team, the executive team, the ownership team, the beer making team behind Skipping Rock. To say they invested a life savings would be applicable. Skipping Rock, if you remember, right at the start of the pandemic, we're talking early 2020, they looked to open a tap room on West Main Street and replace Hardywood. To say they've had bad luck is factual. Opening a satellite tap room in Charlottesville, their headquarters in Stanton, a satellite tap room in Charlottesville on West Main Street a couple of weeks before the COVID pandemic was terrible luck. And throughout that pandemic, they had to pay rent for this West Main Street tap room, despite not being able to utilize it to its fullest extent, if not at all. That's the same tap room that Devil's Backbone is waiting patiently to open a satellite location on West Main Street. The difference between Devil's Backbone and Skipping Rock is Devil's Backbone has Anheuser-Busch money. Skipping Rock has the money of ownership. Locals. Everyday Joes, everyday Jasons, everyday Curtises. Jason and Curtis McCall. The owners, the founders. And I'm going to give you some analysis of why this closed in a matter of moments. But I also am disappointed that some folks are kicking this beer brand while it's down right now. They had bad luck. They tried to expand a couple of weeks before the pandemic with a second location that ended up getting closed and it ended up sucking up a lot of its financial resources. every brewery, not just in Central Virginia, not just in the Commonwealth, not just on the East Coast, but across the country, is feeling pinches associated with inflation, with cost of goods. In fact, I put this on the I Love Seaville network yesterday. I do not think skipping, and the reason I put this on the I Love Seaville network is, and I'm not going to utilize his name, but it irritated I don't want to use a profanity. What's a synonym for SHIT? It irritated the bejeebus out of me.
Yeah.
There was an individual yesterday when we posted about the closing of Skipping Rock on the I Love Seaville network that said, this is a direct result of Charlottesville's brand image and its tarnished brand and reputation. And I respectfully, very respectfully, if you look at the thread on my Facebook page, I very respectfully fired back and said, enough of that. Skipping Rock's closing and the impending rumored closing of Reason Beer are tied to are not tied to connotations associated with Charlottesville guys. These closings are a direct result of economic headwinds. They're direct results of tightening financial and lending markets, increasingly more expensive floating debt, increasingly more expensive cost of goods, labor shortages, higher labor wages. We're at a saturation point for beer brands, booze brands, wine brands, liquor brands. Undoubtedly, we're at a saturation point. And some in the industry don't want to hear this. In fact, one of I've been told through the grapevine that one of the owners of Decipher had some beef with me saying that it was a saturation point of local beer here. Look, me saying that booze locally is saturated, and that's beer, wine, cider, liquor, me saying that comment is about as obvious as that we need oxygen to breathe. It doesn't take a master's in business or a 4-year degree from McIntyre School of Commerce or a 2-year degree in business from Piedmont to realize that we're saturated with local booze, beer, cider, liquor, wine. We're saturated. Me saying that does not take away from the fact that my family spends our hard-earned money on a weekly, multiple times a week basis at these venues to support them. And I want to reiterate for this particular individual that I routinely say on this program, support local, spend your money locally. If you want the brands that you see around this community to stay alive, you better spend your dollars with them because we have serious headwinds in front of us. The closing of Reason Beer and what Hunter is doing at Champion is tied to overextending. Financial, I'm choosing my words carefully for you here, Hunter. Not utilizing the best financial practices. Thinking a tap of money from family would continue in perpetuity. Extending yourself into purchasing too many restaurants. Opening too many restaurant locations when your experience was not as a restaurant operator. Being an off-site manager. Not staying laser focused during a difficult economic climate. Those are the reasons why Champion is having massive difficulty. Why Reason is going to be closing down. And why Champion, according to ABC Labeling, is going to be taking a lot of its production out of state to North Carolina. The reason Skipping Rock is closing is because of the elements that I just read, and I'll read them to you again verbatim. Economic headwinds, tightening financial and lending markets, increasingly more expensive floating debt, increasingly more expensive cost of goods, labor shortages, expensive labor, and the fact that we're saturated with booze, local booze. And that's not unique to Charlottesville. Travis Hackworth, you watching, Travis? I think you are. Travis Hackworth, the mayor of Danville, the king of Danville, said this. Sent it to me at 6:20 in the morning. Travis, this was legit. He says, Jerry, I think a lot of what you're seeing in your Central Virginia and Charlottesville area and the craft beer industry is brands and businesses starting to weed out and consolidate when they can. Granted, it's recession time and COVID did no one any favors, but the large number of craft brewers within the industry as a whole means a lot of our favorite places now have competition just down the street. You end up with craft breweries needing more and more space to compete with other craft brewers, and these spaces are adopting food service wholesale to compete. To quote from an article I just read, Jerry, quote, the more money the tap room brings in, the easier it is for the rest of the business because the competitive market down the street right now is so competitive with six-pack and off-site sales at bars and pubs. Selling your product in-house is where you make your best profit. Those brew pubs that aren't keeping up with the trend will not succeed because there is already somebody doing it better in their region. Stephen Bernard is watching the program. He's the winemaker at Keswick. I respect what he says, and here's the comments that he just left. Stephen Bernard does this professionally. He's come on this talk show, the winemaker at Keswick. He leaves these two comments. There's too much alcohol and too many choices in our area. It's a saturation effect, which means some are going to struggle more. I'm sad to see local business struggling. I wish there was resources available to keep this wonderful, wonderful business going. I completely agree. It's the restaurant. What's happened with local booze in Central Virginia is what's been happening for 25 years with local restaurants. I've been in Charlottesville since 2000, when I came here as a first year at the University of Virginia. And since 2000, when I was a first year at the University of Virginia, I've heard this theme. We've had too many restaurants in the area and not enough slices of the pie to go around to every restaurateur. Well, that phenomenon, the restaurant saturation, has happened with local booze. And local booze is identified by beer, wine, cider, liquor. And here's a very difficult pill to swallow. 2023, whether you want to admit this or not, is going to be an economic challenge for middle America, middle class America, upper middle class America. I read an article that the number of families that have net worth, Judah, net worth families of over $100,000 of take-home pay. Mm-hmm. These families have now shifted shopping habits to places like Walmart. Because the $100,000 net worth family, the family making $100K or more a year per household, is feeling freaking pinched.
That's crazy, unless they're over leveraged.
And we got to cut to the chase. Your best profit margin is at your tap room. Your best profit margin is at your tap room. But your tap room has got pints that are $8.
Yeah.
And an $8 pint is a lot of money.
And it's asking a lot of your clientele. And
when you get an $8 pint, you're going to tip $1 or $2. So that $8 pint is really $9 or $10.
Yeah.
When the six-pack is $12. So if a $100,000 household family has changed their shopping habits to Walmart, are they not weighing the pros and cons of an $8 pint that turns out to be 9 or 10 after tip and comparing it to a $12 six-pack?
No doubt.
A $12 six-pack that they can drink at their house?
Yeah.
And the problem with that $12 six-pack for the local booze brand is so many other people are taking and raking their cut from that six-pack.
Yeah.
Distributors, groceries, grocery stores, the marketing that goes into it. The margin on that six-pack for $12 is slim.
Yeah. That's why your best bet is to get people in your doors and buying six-packs at the bar.
Your best bet undoubtedly is to get people in the door. But I hate to say this, and it's something that we got to do our best to fight against. 2023 is going to be a kick in the nuts. It's going to be a kick in the nuts. We got to figure out a way as a community to survive an economic downturn that we haven't seen since maybe 2008 and 2009. If you think this stimulus money is going to be coming out next year, you're living a dream. We've seen the ramifications of that. That backfired. It created obscene inflation. That ain't going to happen, and it's not going to be a rescue point next year. So if you want the brands, the businesses that you love to survive next year, you got to support them and get out there. And when I make comments like that, I completely understand that people are saying, Jerry, I'm just trying to pay rent, or just trying to pay mortgage, or the electric bill, or buy some diapers and formula, or the doctor bill. Stephen Bernard, anytime he comments, I read it out loud. The winemaker at Keswick says, Keswick Vineyards, the only way to make this work is direct to consumer. But cost of alcohol on site is too much for the cost of living right now. It's crazy and not pro-business. That's why we really need to support local. And I'm disappointed in the people that were skipping rock when they were down yesterday in the closing announcement. These people put their life savings into this. Their sweat equity and their time. They took a chance and created jobs. And if you think closing a business like this will just stop the debt and the creditors, you're not living in reality. Just because you close the business doesn't mean the debt and the creditors accrued will stop knocking. This is just the beginning. Closing the business is the first inning of dealing with shutting their doors. The second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth inning are managing the creditors and the debt service. And that debt service is getting every day more expensive as Jay Powell and the Fed raise interest rates. And sure, CPI came in cool today. The consumer price index cooler than expected, maybe a sign that inflation is moderating from its highest level in decades. Still, consumer prices jumped 7.1% from a year ago. They were expected to go 7.3%. They're 7.1%. Yes, we're celebrating that the expectation was 7.3%, a CPI jump. But still, Judah, they're 7.1% more expensive. Consumer prices are year over year.
Yeah. It wasn't quite as bad as we thought it would be.
That's what it is.
But it was still bad.
It's 7.1% more expensive goods this November versus last November. 7.1% is a boatload more expensive.
Yeah.
They thought it was going to be 7.3. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's like saying, after Christmas and the holiday season, I'm probably going to put on somewhere close to 15 to 17 pounds. At least I didn't put on 20.
Right.
What the hell? What am I missing here?
Nothing. It's crazy.
Support local. I'll say it again. Support the brands you want to see survive 2023 because it's going to be a dogfight, a Darwinistic economic dogfight next year. And the small business owners that you love, you know what they're doing to keep their doors open? They're taking on debt. And a lot of it's floating. Credit cards are floating debt. Lines of credit are often floating debt. And don't kick good people when they're down. And I also want to highlight what this means for local booze in Central Virginia. Local booze in Central Virginia, and you're going to see the practitioners who are innovative and visionaries very quickly, because local booze in Central Virginia, ownership of these brands very quickly is going to have to figure out a way how to get people into their locations and go direct to consumer. And maybe that's a loss leader strategy. A great example is what Three Notch does on Mondays with Minutemen. Minutemen is a damn good beer. And on Mondays, Three Notch sells them for $3 a pint. And it's the English pint, the 20-ounce pint.
Nice.
$3. They get people in the door on a slow day. On Tuesdays, Three Notch does a half case. All cases, half price.
Yeah.
These are loss leader strategies to get people into the location where they can go direct to consumer. Pro Renata. You know what Dr. John and the Pro Renata team do? They've turned their brewery into a music venue.
Yeah. Pretty good one, too.
Damn good venue. Pro Renata is as much about beer as it is a freaking music venue.
Yeah.
You're going to Pro Renata to watch live music. Mm-hmm. Keswick. Steven, you still watching over there? Steven Bernard? Keswick Vineyards has built a putt-putt golf course on site.
That's pretty wild.
It's genius. They legitimately have a putt-putt golf course on site at Keswick Vineyards. A putt-putt golf course on site of an award-winning vineyard.
Is that the only one in this area now?
There's still one on Route 29 that's owned by Wendell's brother, Charlottesville Putt-Putt.
The one off on...
Tara Savage says this, absolutely, Jerry. I personally need another reason to go to a brewery than just the beer. There has to be another draw. That's a businesswoman, Tara Savage. Tara Savage, the businesswoman, says, I've been to Pro Renata for the music. The true practitioners, the innovators, the people that make magic happen on a day-to-day basis, running a small business. And if you've ever owned or operated a small business, you literally on the fly have to reinvent yourself all the time. This company is 15 years old. We started as a social media company that managed the brands of clients. Today, we're known for a live streaming network. We still have the branding company, the advertising agency that's 15 years old. That's our bread and butter. But additional offshoots of what we started is a live streaming network that took off. We have 24 tenants in an office building where we manage from the branding company. These 24 tenants are utilizing executive office space that we've slowly accrued by purchasing in an office condo building. By combining and whittling and gluing all these revenue streams together, we are able to keep moving forward. John at Pro Renata has built a live music venue to continue moving forward. Keswick has added a putt-putt course along with weddings and events to their tap room and their award-winning wine. Look at what Three Notch is trying to do at the old Wild Wolf spot. Three Notch is building a location that's synonymous with Base Camp at Devil's Backbone that's going to have live music, running and hiking trails, a liquor distillery, a place for brewing beer, a restaurant, a tap room. They're building complementary, vertically integrated revenue streams. Seltzer. And I never want to hear anyone say that I don't say support local businesses. I don't want to hear that again. And if you're watching this show, you know who you are. Don't want to hear that from you again. There's no one that's a larger champion in this community of supporting local businesses than what we're doing here. Irritates me. Let's get to 804 Hinton Avenue. Take a look at what we posted just before this show started. 804 Hinton Avenue. Do you have the map you can put on screen?
Yeah.
You put the map on screen, and then do you have the photos as well? Thank you for sending this my way, Judah Wickhauer. Judah found this topic.
Here's the map.
The map is on screen. Look at the screen. This is where this, do I call it a cottage? Is it a studio apartment? Is it a cottage? I would imagine this is more
Shack?
cottage. We gotta be, I'd say this is more cottage than studio apartment because it's a standalone unit.
I think shack still applies.
I'm going to call it a cottage, you call it a shack. You put the map on screen with the circle on it, then you rotate the photos, and then you and I are going to banter back and forth. And the question is this going to be good for the community? Anonymous on Twitter says it's a garden shed. Anonymous.
Here's the front of it.
I look at the screen. Everyone look at the screen. Look at the screen. Look at the screen.
Does anyone think that there is a single bit of insulation in that thing?
Well, Anonymous is going to back up the price here. Anonymous dude, you make the show better, dude. He's the I Love Seville Network's version of Deep Throat. He sends me DMs on Twitter. He is a smart dude. Don't know a ton about him. I've met him twice. Once with a handshake, the second time in passing down a hallway. But the commentary he provides this network is legitimately bona fide and makes the program better. He's going to back up the price. I'm going to back up the price here in a minute too. You're going to obviously tear this down and play the bear to 804 Hinton Avenue. I'll play the bull to Hinton Avenue for the sake of a talk show. Okay? You rotating the photos through?
Yeah.
Look at the screen. Look at the screen. I'll give you some of the specs. 804 Hinton Avenue is asking $1,100 a month. This is a legitimate rental listing that's currently being marketed on Realtor.com by Vo and Bobby Montgomery of Ness Realty Group. $1,100 per month asking. It's 258 square feet. They're calling it a studio apartment or a cottage. The cottage The cottage is 82 square feet, 82 years old. I shouldn't laugh when I say cottage. The cottage, this is branding. Calling this a cottage is called branding. You realize that. That's the business we're in. They're in the businesses of managing perception. They're trying to manage the perception and shift the perception from garden shed, work shed, home to the lawnmower, to garden, to cottage.
Boutique garden shed.
To cottage. It's a cottage. This is branding. It's 82 years old. The laundry is off-site. On this location is a main house that's an over-under duplex, and that main house with the over-under duplex has a basement where the laundry is located. So you have to walk across the yard to the basement laundry.
It's better than no laundry. I mean, I'll give it that. Right?
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's go to a two-shot. And we'll read all the viewer and listener comments on air, I swear and I promise you. You're going to obviously take, you know, sometimes you're the bear on this program. You're going to take, you take whatever role you want. I would imagine the role you're going to take on this show is that this is a microcosm of Charlottesville, Virginia, and the lack of affordability and where we're heading for middle class, lower class, and even upper middle class, and the fact that these socioeconomic groups are being jettisoned, pushed out of this community, and it's damning and concerning to you. Is that what you're going to take? That's the perspective you're going to. I've known you for a decade. I would imagine that's what you're going to say.
I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far. I'm almost just flabbergasted by this. It's tiny. I've read a comment that it's freezing in the winter, and
of course it's freezing in the winter. It used to be the home to the lawnmower and the garden shears.
The walls are cinder blocks.
Yeah. It's a roof and walls.
Yeah.
Keep going. I apologize for interrupting.
I mean, you know, if you can get that much for rent, more power to you. But really, if I just, it's crazy. Is it worth $1,100? I mean,
it's worth what somebody's willing to pay for.
Exactly. So
it's worth what someone's willing to pay for.
Yeah.
Worth is what one person will pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if all the landlords out there want to go for as much as you can possibly,
that's the free market.
Scrape off of people.
That's the free market.
Yeah, yep, that's the free market. I take that saying to the bank with you, and you know, hope there's still people that'll rent your place in 5 years.
Keep going. What you're saying is resonating with people. I'm seeing people giving you the thumbs up. Keep offering perspective, then I'll jump in here. Let's go, baby boy. Let's go.
First of all, don't call me baby boy.
I'm sorry. It's just a saying.
Weird.
Just go. Let's go, Judah. Come on, my friend.
I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Sorry I called you baby boy.
It's insane. It's a tiny little shed. I mean, it kind of looks, I don't know, you know, I could see this on, you know, like a beach somewhere, and you know, the little loft bedroom that you've got to climb up to and crawl into, because you clearly can't stand up once you get up there. Here, I'll show the picture of the.
You don't have to.
The loft.
Oh, the loft. Okay, you're putting the loft on screen.
Yeah. Let's see.
All right, I'm gonna. And you put the loft on screen, and then I'm gonna offer some perspective here. Tell me when you get the loft on there.
The loft is up there.
Tara Savage says she's going to invest in a shed today. Carol Thorpe said the lawnmower and the rakes did not need heat. This gets you $13,200 a year in rent with probably a 5% escalator. You probably got a 5% escalator on this $13,200 a year in total rent.
Gotta make sure you bleed your tenant completely dry, right?
Anonymous says maybe there's a well-heeled serial killer out there who would rent it to imprison his victims. Anonymous does back this up with fact, okay? He says, this owner is taking heat and it's not justified. Anonymous says this. This is the I Love CVille Network's version of Deep Throat and DM capacity to me on Twitter. Anonymous says, there are many apartments of 500 to 1,000 square feet on rental sites in the $1,200 to $1,800 range. If this is not taking the piss, then it completely destroys the idea that encouraging ADUs and cottages in the new zoning would provide affordable housing. Bingo. That's the take I was going to go. He continues, recall the inclusionary zoning analysis prepared by the city's consultants talks about new rental products at rents of $1.65 to $1.80 per square feet per month, which in its own form of taking the piss, though less extreme. This is what he's saying. Anonymous backs things up with stats and data and numbers. He's a finance guy. I'm a very succinct wordsmith. This is what he's saying, Anonymous. If folks have a problem with this cottage renting for $1,100 a month, and this cottage is 258 square feet,
Yep.
the future land use map and the upzoning that Charlottesville City is contemplating right now is going to permit and allow a boatload of these. So if you have beef with $1,100 a month condos, or excuse me, $1,100 a month cottages, excuse me, $1,100 a month studio apartment, excuse me, $1,100 a month garden shed, excuse me, $1,100 a month work sheds, if you have beef with those, then you cannot support upzoning and the future land use map, because upzoning will birth a boatload of these ADUs. The entire concept of creating more density in a 10.2 square mile city we call Charlottesville is by building structures like this, or granny flats and basement apartments.
Yeah.
So if you have beef with this at $1,100 a month, this is what's going to get birthed when the density upzoning future land use map becomes a reality as early as maybe next year. Upzoning creates, what's it create?
Upzoning creates affordable housing. What? I don't know.
Upzoning creates the potential for greed. If you all of a sudden get green lighted, the chance to take your garden shed in your backyard and drop, what do? They put in a tiny fridge.
They put in a light.
They put in a couple of lights. They painted it. They put it in a tiny fridge, and they did some plumbing. And that plumbing was probably associated with the plumbing that was already on site with the garden hose. Wouldn't you say that's what they did?
Yeah. I mean, look at the shower. It's like.
What do you think they did? 10 grand worth of work here?
I don't even know if they spent that much, but I'm not a good.
15 grand worth of work?
I would think it was less than that, but I don't know.
They're going to make this up in month 12 of the lease, and everything after that is gravy train.
I don't think it'll even take a year to make it their money back.
This will be a byproduct. This kind of housing will be a byproduct of upzoning. And I've been saying this for freaking years, guys. There's one undefeated team in sports. One undefeated individual in sports. Not LeBron James, not Michael Jordan, not Tom Brady, not Bo Jackson, not Chipper Jones. Father Time is the only undefeated team in sports. And there's one undefeated team and one undefeated individual in this world we call the free market. And it's not Elon Musk, and it's not Bill Gates, and it's not Mark Zuckerberg, and it's not Jamie Dimon, and it's not Steven Schwartzman. It's the invisible hand of capitalism. I think, Anonymous, I think this is going to get close to $1,100 a month. Put the map on screen. You literally can stumble home from the bars in downtown. I'll put this in perspective. You put the map on screen and then go back to me on a one shot. It's on screen. You can get, when you're fresh out of college and in your mid-20s, stumbling home from places and not having to Uber from places or drive is paramount. You can get hammer-cocked at the bars and stumble home. People will pay $1,100 a month because they're going to weigh the pros and cons of Uber rides. And $13 and $14 and $15, $20 Uber rides to and from the bars adds up. So if you don't have Uber rides, you're going to say, hey, at least I don't have to spend the cost of money on Uber, and I could just walk from the bars home, so I'm going to rent this. And I'll put it in perspective. You go back on a one shot.
Yeah.
In 2006, when I was fresh out of the University of Virginia, 2006, me and three buddies, four of us total, and I won't utilize their name because they're all legitimate. We're all legitimate. The four of us are legitimate. We're legitimate business owners, legitimate, and fathers and husbands in this community. Wow, we've come a long way. Me and three other people, 4 dudes, lived at 208 Little Graves. Little Graves is the street right behind where Spud Nuts used to be located, where Quality Pie is right now. 208 Little Graves. Arthur Feiner was the owner of this property, and I think Arthur Feiner still owns it. Absentee landlord. Didn't care what we did as long as we paid the rent on time. 208 Little Graves was less than 1,200 square feet. In fact, I think I looked it up today. The exact square footage of 208 Little Graves was, and let me just confirm it here, 1,120 square feet. 4 dudes lived in 1,120 square feet. So if you divide 1,120 square feet, 1120, by 4, you get 280 square feet a person. Basically the same square feet that this cottage is offering one person. It was 1,120 square feet. 4 dudes lived there. This place was 2 bedrooms and 1.5 baths. And the bath was legitimately a toilet and a dank basement. The 4 of us were broke jokes, fresh out of college. I'm talking broke as broke can be. Like broke jokes. One of us, and I won't say who, had to borrow money from another person just for the security deposit. That's how broke we were. The 4 of us lived in this 208 Little Graves house, and why we picked it was because it was close to the bars. And this was when Belmont wasn't even Belmont. It was only Mas Tapas over there. There was nothing else. La Tasa wasn't even finished yet. Maybe it was barely finished. But we picked 208 Little Graves because we could stumble home from the downtown mall. And we said, we're going to take this place. It's $1,000 a month. It's 2 bedrooms. It's 1.5 baths. And then we decided, how the hell are we going to live here? It's 2 bedrooms, and there's 4 of us, and we want our own rooms because boom shakalaka. Can you give me a sound effect for what I'm trying to go for?
Not really. Burnt chick. I don't. I'm not very good at sound effects. Thank you.
That's the best sound effect you got for the boom shakalaka? What do you think Jesus. We wanted our own rooms for obvious reasons. So this is what we decided. There were 2 legitimate bedrooms. Me and my buddy each got one of the 2 legitimate bedrooms, and we paid extra money. I think we paid $350 each. No, couldn't have been that much. It was so broke then. We paid the 2 bedrooms paid more than the other 2 people. The third guy took the what was the room called? Where not the greenhouse. You obviously weren't there, but you helped me remember what the word was. Where the plants are?
Sunroom?
The sunroom. My buddy converted the sunroom into a bedroom. Literally converted the sunroom into a bedroom. And my 4th buddy, this is a true story, climbed a rope ladder into the attic. He literally lived in an attic that was 4.5 feet tall. The attic had no air condition and it had no heat. In the middle of summer, it was over 100 degrees up there. He'd have to sleep buck-ass naked with 7 fans surrounding him. In the winter, he literally slept under 3 blankets and in a jacket with a hoodie on it, socks and sweatpants. He got charged $125 a month to climb a rope ladder into the attic at 208 Little Graves. Could not stand up in the attic. It was over 100 degrees in the summer in the attic. It was freezing temperatures in the attic in the winter. Slept in a parka in the winter and slept buck-ass naked surrounded by fans in the summer. My 3rd buddy converted the sunroom. When we had to get ready for work, if we happened to get ready at the same time, we put ourselves on time limits of 3 or 4 minutes because there was only 1 shower. But you know what? That $1,000 a month allowed us to save some money, stumble home from the bars, and had some of the best times of our life. This cottage at 804 Hinton Avenue is 208 Little Graves from 2006 when I was fresh from UVA. And 208 Little Graves in 2006 when I was fresh from UVA rented for $1,000 a month for a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. Now, quick math, 17 years later, you get 252 square feet for $1,100 a month, and you don't have to have any roommates
258.
or climb a rope ladder.
258.
Let's not forget that. This is called the free market. And if anyone has beef with an $1,100 a month cottage, garden shed, tool shed, home for the lawnmower, studio apartment, this is what will be birthed when upzoning is a reality.
A lot of people are going to be building sheds in their backyards.
Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
How about the people that already have the sheds built?
Right.
These people didn't build the shed,
Yeah.
right?
That's been there for a long time.
Been there for, what did we say on the Instagram? It was, the shed was built in, they literally have an age for the shed. It's 82 years old, the shed. It was built in 1940. 1940.
Let's see.
82 years old. Numbers are my thing.
Yeah. 1940. GIS.
This is a 82-year-old shed that they spent somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 on and are going to get, I bet you, damn near close to $13,200 in rent, $1,100 a month.
Yeah.
Brown cow, that's funny, Tara. All right, a couple other things. Here's why you watch the program. One of the many reasons I think you watch the program. We try to entertain, we try to educate, and we try to enlighten. That's what I try to do here. Entertain, educate, enlighten. And we do it by spotlighting the best of Charlottesville and Central Virginia, localize, personalize, and humanize the content. I told you last week that Katrina Coulson was going to run for House of Delegates. That news came out yesterday. We've been talking about this for almost a week before the news came out. Katrina Coulson is a school board member. Katrina Coulson is, let me confirm this, I believe Ivy League educated. I will confirm here in a matter of moments. She was one of the folks that voted on the school board to open up Albemarle County schools during COVID. She's an attorney at the city of Charlottesville, like attorney with the city of Charlottesville. I'm very curious to see how that plays out. Running for House of Delegates when you're working for the city of Charlottesville as an attorney. Very curious to see how that plays out. Voting in Richmond on things that pertain to your employer. Very curious to see how that plays out. I don't want to put friend of the program, Jim Hingley, the Commonwealth's attorney of Albemarle County, who's watching this show, I believe, who at least, let me characterize, who listens and watches this show often. I won't ask you this, Jim Hingley, if this is a conflict of interest, because I have too much respect for you, sir. But I'm very curious to know how you can be an attorney for the city of Charlottesville, an employee of the city of Charlottesville, and then run for House of Delegates, where if you're elected, you could be potentially voting on items like increasing the sales tax, voting on stuff that directly applies to your employer. Very curious to see how that plays out. Yale University, I was right. Ivy League educated. UVA School of Law. I mean, on paper, look at this resume. Yale University, UVA School of Law. Very, very, very beautiful lady. School board experience. Certainly has caught some heat from a certain segment of the community for opening up schools during the pandemic, Albemarle County, on the school board. And undoubtedly has caught a lot of heat from a segment of the community by pretty much being one of the people who kiboshed the Albemarle County Teacher Union and collective bargaining, Katrina Coulson. All those points will be fodder for the campaign trail. Fodder number one for the campaign trail: how can you be in the House of Delegates if you're employed by the city of Charlottesville when you're voting in Richmond on things that directly pertain to your employer? That's fodder point number one. Fodder point, okay, Scott Aaronworth, I appreciate that. Scott Aaronworth, the king of Virginia Beach, is helping us out. He says there was a prosecutor who was in the House of Delegates in a text message to me. Who was the prosecutor? Prosecutor for what jurisdiction? And Scott, here's the follow-up question I have for you. Was the prosecutor that you're texting me about legitimately voting, what I guess he would be, on stuff that would pertain to his employer? Can you offer some insight into that, Scott Aaronworth? Still, I think that will be fodder for the campaign trail. He says, Jerry Hampton. I love the viewers and listeners. They're making the program better. Scott Aaronworth, who's a criminal defense attorney in Virginia Beach. Aaronworth Law. If you're in the 757 and you need some help, call Scott Aaronworth and Aaronworth Law. He says a prosecutor for Hampton, Virginia was elected into the House of Delegates. Thank you, Scott Aaronworth. I appreciate that, Scott. I'm sure Katrina Coulson will point to that while on the campaign trail. But Scott Aaronworth just texted me as empirical data that this has been done before. Thank you, Scott. Still, that's something that her opponents will use against her. The second thing potentially opponents could use against her would be COVID vote, opening schools, and the third thing would be you're a good man, Scott. And the third thing would be her voting against unionizing in Albemarle County with teachers and collective bargaining. 3 talking points, 3 items that will undoubtedly be something that Coulson will have to address. Katrina, I hear from time to time you listen and watch this fine and fair talk show. And everything I just had to say about Katrina Coulson and her campaign and herself personally was fine and fair. Everything. And applicable. The last topic is one that Jamie Turner sent to me. We'll weave you in the mix here. We have our traditional 145 conference call, Judah, with a VIP client. Before we get to that conference call, Jamie Turner, the mayor of Gordonsville, sent me this. I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs, then we'll get your take and my take. Lennar, which is one of the largest home builders in the United States of America. Lennar has offered to sell 5,000 homes to big landlords. The home builder says it's part of its overall marketing efforts. This is from the website The Real Deal, which is a fantastic website about real estate news. Jamie Turner, thank you for sending this to me. With the housing market in a downturn, the article says, Lennar Corporation, one of the biggest home builders in the United States of America, is offering to sell about 5,000 homes to rental landlords, Bloomberg reports. Most of the homes are in the southwest and southeast, with landlords having the opportunity in some cases to buy entire neighborhoods. A Lennar representative told the outlet that the effort was part of its standard marketing efforts. Big landlords have entered the home building market to meet the tightening demand for housing, CNBC reported in June. At that time, homes built for rent represented about 5% of the home building market, nearly double the historical average, the outlet reported. But with the recent sharp market downturn due to soaring interest rates, Lennar and other builders have ramped up their efforts to sell single-family houses to landlords. Jeff Klein, who's the executive director of the Single-Family Rental Advisory Division, told Bloomberg that builders have sought bids on about 40,000 homes in recent months. Lennar's average home sales price in the third quarter was close to $500,000, which translates to a $2.5 billion with a B valuation on the 5,000 homes offered to big landlords. What do you make of this?
I mean, I really need more information. It's hard. I mean, is big landlord, is that like an institution? Big landlords, is that like big oil, or are they just using it as a term?
It's a term.
So, and
landlords that have economies of scale, that are well capitalized.
So
I would imagine Lennar is approaching hedge funds like Blackstone with their REITs.
No doubt. Why specifically?
Because they're trying to unload inventory quickly. They don't want to carry it.
Why not just try to sell the houses to anyone that wants to buy them?
Because there's no demand. Interest rates are diminishing demand. Yeah. People are terrified of 6.5% or higher interest rates. And they don't have down payments, and their dollars are stretched so thin they can't afford them. So they're staying in existing homes longer. As we talked about on the show, people that locked in interest rates that are 2, 3, and 4% really have no reason to sell or move or climb the vertical ladder of housing. So now Lennar's got 5,000 homes that it's freaking terrified with, and it doesn't want to carry them any longer, because when you carry new inventory, that new inventory no longer has a 2022 year built date. When it turns 2023, it's a year old.
Yeah.
And keeping those houses and maintaining them is expensive. So they're doing whatever it can to get them off their balance sheet, unload them.
Mm-hmm. See, that's what I wanted in the article, some actual information.
That's why they're trying to unload them.
Right.
They over-speculated with construction.
Yeah.
The terrifying thing is, and I got a 145 with a VIP client, which means I'm closing in 35 seconds. The terrifying thing about this is, if Lennar unloads these houses to a consolidated group of ownership, a small group of owners, like say a Blackstone, BlackRock, or some of these big landlords out there, these folks get tremendous power. Mm-hmm. And heavy is the head that wears the crown, and corrupt is the head that wears the crown. Because then you can start colluding on price point setting.
Yeah.
And when you own an entire subdivision, you become the determinant of rental price points.
Yeah.
And that's when neighborhoods and areas and cities and regions can very quickly become unaffordable. And that right there is some damn good knowledge for you
That's
guys.
what they used to call slumlords.
I'm Jerry Miller, that's Judah Wickower, and this is the I Love CVille show.